Hey, listeners. Just wanted to take a moment and recognize the passing of David Warner. We recorded this a couple weeks back, so we don't refer to it at all during the episode, but just wanted to take a moment and recognize a icon of sci-fi and all of his contributions to the genre. It is timely to enjoy a classic work of his like TRON, as I hope you do while listening to this episode.
Welcome to Who Are You? We are normally a Babylon 5 watchcast, hosted by two friends who've gotten to know each other over Babylon 5. I'm Xhafer.
And I'm Laura.
But today, we are actually taking our mid-season movie break, where we watch a movie that has a or multiple cast members of Babylon 5, in this case, multiple, and review that instead, just to get a break from Babylon 5, because fuck, that show's heavy sometimes.
It's also nice to see that our actors have more chops than just Babylon 5. Like they can do other stuff too. Most of them.
So we chose this one a while ago. I think this is actually one we had discussed even doing back in season 1. And then we're like, well, we have to wait for season 2 because Bruce Boxleitner's in it. But we're reviewing TRON. And actually, not when this comes out, but as of recording 2 days ago was the 40th anniversary of the film's release.
Very coincidental.
Yeah. Which we had no idea of when we were sitting down to record or look at the release or any of that. But
happy 40th birthday, Tron.
Happy 40. So we've got a few ties to Babylon 5 here. The most obvious of which is Bruce Boxleitner, who is Tron and Alan Brady. Peter Jurasik is in the first third of the film as Crom.
Yeah, he's a program.
But we also, he's actually a user.
I thought he was a program.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, is you think he's a program.
Okay. You're going to have to fill me all in.
I think he's a user, and I've got no idea what he's doing there, but it has some interesting implications. We've got David Warner, though. He's the True Seeker from Grail.
He's back showing us some bad guy moves.
Yeah, he's 3 roles in this film. He's Ed Dillinger, Sark, and the MCP.
Oh, he's also the MCP. It's a little MCP, modified, right? Yeah.
It's distorted, yeah. But he's literally talking.
This is really the David Warner show is what it actually is.
This whole movie is very David Warner. And then we got one more.
One more?
Vince Dedrick Jr., who is one of the warriors.
Okay.
He's credited as warrior number 2, is a Brakiri in season 4 of Babylon 5. And interestingly enough, also the stunt coordinator for all of Star Trek Enterprise.
Wow.
Yep. I did some IMDb digging.
You did. You really did. And like everything, it seems like in our little Babylon 5 universe touches Star Trek in some way. Like 90s Trek, Babylon 5. We got some 80s movies in here. Like it's a very small world.
I mean, part of that is probably because I look for it constantly.
True. It's
admittedly.
Like it's that bias where you want to see it, so you do.
Yeah. I went to the dentist today, and I was actually talking about how I'm going to Star Trek Las Vegas and talked about Star Trek and the importance in my childhood and everything earlier today.
How did you have time to talk at the dentist? They're always in my mouth.
Actually, my oral hygienist, full disclosure, is one of my very best friend's mother.
Got it.
So I come in, I get a hug, and like it's conversation and stuff. So it's not just I'm there longer than I need to be. Let me put it that way.
The hygienist is always talking to me, and I'm just like nodding because, you're working on my teeth, lady.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay. Well, we get to open up in TRON with what I can only assume is what the inside of a computer looks like, right?
I can say, as an information technology professional, that I could only possibly describe the introduction of this movie as the actual inside of a computer.
You're right. It's fact.
Before cutting to Flynn's arcade and seeing a light cycle bout, it's very just like, let's do a bunch of stuff that has no impact on anything.
Yeah.
Let's show you things that you're going to see.
Yeah. Let's just show you some cool effects that we can do. And I love that this whole light cycle, this amazing looking, neon landscape is based on Snake or whatever you call it. Slither.io. Have you heard of this?
Yes. Yeah, that's online competitive Snake. Yes.
Oh, so is that how it shows up in Tron Legacy? We'll have to do that one later. Oh, okay.
I do love Tron Legacy, though. It's a significantly better film in every regard. Come at me, internet. So yeah, in this initial light fight battle, Sark takes out... Well, Sark actually does the WB, the Warner Brothers studio, a favor because he finds Discount Ezra Miller where he's been hiding.
Oh, yeah.
And takes him out. I'm sure that joke is going to age terribly. It's the world's most dated-looking CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to meet a program who compiles for the accounting department.
Yeah.
It's an actuarial program that helps people save for retirement.
I thought that was cute. I was like, oh, this poor accounting program. He's been put in armor and he's in some sort of prison. And then
you really feel bad for the accounting program? Do you? Knowing how much pain they've caused you over the years.
I do, though, because he's just so friendly. This is a very friendly little Peter Jurasik.
Mm-hmm. It is a little friendly Peter Jurasik. This whole scene is Blacklight bowling night.
Mm-hmm.
This whole movie is Blacklight bowling night, really.
It really is. Like, if it's not Blacklight bowling night, then it's just, day in the 80s. Because we've got some, just daytime scenes, but everything else, Blacklight night.
I did watch this with Beth, who, when Peter Jurasik comes on, she's all like, he looks familiar. And I'm all like, that's Delando, the guy with the hair from Babylon 5. Because she's only watched maybe 30 minutes of the pilot at this point. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I thought he was familiar, but it's hard to tell without his hair full of secrets. And I had to write that down word for word because...
That's so good and accurate.
It's so good and accurate.
Well, now I know what we're saying about Londo's hair for the rest of forever. Okay.
Right. So this is Crom. He's talking to Ram about believing in the user. We cut to a Jeff Bridges so young I thought he was digitally de-aged. And he's working with Clue, the best program at bowling ever written. And we get an action tank scene before getting captured and broken into bits.
I called these like machines, claw machines, the like tanks that you said, because I just couldn't, but they could be the little like bowling pin thingies. Like, where they reset
it's from the dream
pins.
sequence of Big Lebowski. Yeah, I've seen that. It's like when he's like the bowling ball flying between the legs and then it turns to him and he's slowly, it's just like that. Those legs, that's it. Nailed it.
I thought this was a very not good design for our security tanks, but whatever. It seemed very impractical.
The MCP calls in to Dillinger. It's like, summon him for me. And Dillinger with that neon helicopter's got that Tony Stark swag.
I was like, ooh, look at this thing with all the underlights and whatever you call that.
Yeah,
fancy.
That set off a whole movement in automotive.
Right? They're all drag racing down 39th Street because 39th Street in Oklahoma City is very bad for that. And I guess it's actually on one of those underground drag race shows.
Oh.
Not RuPaul Drag Race, but like the other kind.
Do they? I've never watched RuPaul's Drag Race. Tell me they go drag racing at what point in Drag Race?
They should absolutely. And if they haven't done that yet, you just go ahead and then, enjoy the idea. It's
Someone
free.
In the
this
Discord,
one's a freebie.
Please. Please tell us.
Anyway.
So Dillinger comes in and logs onto his system, and his password is master period.
Mm-hmm.
This is a terrible password.
This is a bad password. What a bad IT guy this person is. That's how you can tell he's the bad guy, right? Because he's not actually good at IT.
The bad guy in my life is anyone whose password is master period. 100%.
Yeah, so he gets to just like chat with his computer, with his Tandy, and get bossed around a lot by it. Apparently there's somebody named Flynn, that's Jeff Bridges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Poking around and he's looking for something. And Master Control Program does not like it.
Yeah, this felt like between the weird suit, the commanding attitude. I haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey, but this felt like a scene out of 50 Shades of Grey to me.
This is probably better than 50 Shades of Grey.
At some point, I'm going to watch it just so I could be in on the jokes I make, but that's not anytime soon.
Yeah, no, we're not that desperate yet.
No.
50 Shades movie break.
No thanks.
No thanks. No.
I don't want to have to. If I watch those movies, I sure as shit don't want to have to talk about them.
Make a podcast about it. Yeah.
That could be our Paul Blart Mall Cop.
We just watch 50 Shades every year.
Oh
man. That's an idea.
Dear listener, if you're excited about this idea, it's yours. And by that I mean I'm not suggesting, it is yours. I burden you with this glorious purpose. It's not my problem.
I don't do romance. My tastes are very singular.
We cut to a guy with some 90s glasses on, and I wrote down here, holy shit, it's Boxleitner, because I did not recognize him behind these massive 90s glasses.
I feel like they all have that ridiculous look so that it's easier to tell them apart from their programs.
Yeah, that they've exaggerated it a little bit, like their humanness.
The giant glasses and the haircuts are bad, and maybe that's just nerds in the 80s.
Yeah, could be.
Yep, it's Alan Brody, whose TRON program, who has been seized by Dillinger. Did you see how big this office is? Like, do you look in the background? There's thousands of cubicles in this thing. It's like out of the Matrix. It's crazy.
It's a real cubicle farm. Like, I was sitting there going, oh, I didn't know that the cubicle farm had already happened back then.
But they're not sharing because it's the 80s and a more opulent time.
Awesome. Awesome to the max.
Indeed.
Alan goes to see Dillinger, who is told to sit on his hands for a few days at the office.
Yeah.
His TRON program has security on all systems, including over the MCP. The MCP lets Dillinger know that is going to be a problem. End of line.
I thought this was wild. So we have taken away all Group 7 personnel access because something or someone has been tampering with stuff. And you're just going to sit around here for a while. Like, why would we let you in the building at all if we were worried about all of Group 7?
I mean, if the access is shut off, then they can't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
You might want them in the building so when you find out who it is, you can have them arrested or fired, you know. You don't have to fire someone remote. It sucks.
I can only imagine. Ugh.
Anyway, Alan goes down to the frickin' laser bay.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
Where they all have to clear out and watch as they figure out the first part of transporting from Star Trek.
You know, I thought this was crazy. So we're just zapping things with lasers in addition to whatever IT stuff we do. Like, okay. That's how you know it's the 80s.
Alan starts talking to a scientist down there, and the elderly one who we later find out is the founder of the company, notes that when computers start thinking, people will stop. About that. I've got some bad news for you, 1982, because computers don't think like you were predicting they would when you made this statement. But the other half has definitely come true.
Yeah, we definitely don't think as hard as we used to.
No. Anyways, Laura mentions Flynn having the same access, and maybe they should go see him. So they go to his arcade to warn him. They wander around the arcade while Alan continues to be passive-aggressive about Laura's past with Flynn in a very not cool way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in this couple of minutes.
This whole thing is very weird about the female character. She's very obviously property of men in all forms of the story. It is very
not okay. Yeah.
It's very weird. But you know what? Flynn's place looks really hoppin'. Like, this is the coolest arcade I've ever seen. It's almost like a casino. It's got that many people and that much
loaded,
activity.
They go up to his bedroom upstairs in the arcade, which I couldn't sleep. Fuck.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very peaceful, but
Bruce makes a comment about being a space cowboy that he's going to regret in about a decade. We get some more awkward comments about Laura until Bridges breaks out the Rocky and Bullwinkle references.
All is going according to plan, fearless leader.
Good.
About what his intentions exactly are. He invented a bunch of games that Dillinger stole and used to get promoted. They can't do much now, but if they can get Flynn in the building, he can get Group 6 access, and then they can set TRON on the case to find the file and the evidence.
yeah, that whole thing was hard for me to follow. It was like suddenly we've figured out we're going to break in.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole thing, actually, I referred to Laura as girlfriend because they did not make her important. She was just girlfriend the whole time.
I don't know that they say her name,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest. They say her program's name once, and I don't know that they say her name the entire movie. I just know it because IMDb.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah.
If they said it, I didn't catch it. It was fast. So she's got the keys. They're all going to go get inside.
Yep. Back in Dillinger's office, the older scientist comes off the set of Pet Cemetery to tell the senior exec that people need to be able to work and that the MCP is the problem.
Mhm.
He threatens to send Wozniak back to the garage, while Flynn's Kim Possible, Laura's Ron Stoppable, and Alan's Naked Mole Rat break into the building.
That's a good reference.
That was another Beth joke. Thank you. This door they open, by the way, is so dummy thick it's about to be in the next Major Lazer video. This door is huge.
The set on this whole thing is pretty like over the top.
For sure.
Like
Well, they only
huge
needed like
spaces and-
3 sets. So
Yeah.
they needed
Uh.
Dillinger's office, Flynn's arcade, and the laser beams, and a couple cubicles that I'm sure that they just had somewhere.
So the MCP is also threatening Dillinger with taking over the world.
It's straight up become Metal Gear plot time.
Otacon.
He's decided he could run the world 900 to 1200 times more efficiently than humans. He's very specific.
Tears for Fears style.
I don't know. I'm How are you feeling about MCP for world leader right now?
Well, we've already elected one arrogant jackass in this country to the president. I'd like to not live to see another.
Yeah.
And to be absolutely clear, we've elected several over the last couple hundred years, so I won't get into that right now. It's just a little fresh.
Well, he's going to Skynet. But he's not Skynet yet because
No.
security at this place is terrible. They've gotten into the server rooms without being noticed.
Yes. And man, these server rooms are so archaic. It filled me with so much joy.
There's a big nostalgia there.
If this is what a server room ever actually looked like, it's just so open and like there's just a couple of aisleways and there's no hot cold aisles and there's no mass cable wiring rigs and it's too clean. I've been in real server rooms, all right? That
Oh, yeah.
dark shit. It is not cable management. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, Alan's in his office, and we get a nice Kalatu Barada Nikto up on the wall, which is the day the Earth stood still. I appreciate.
Nice reference.
And then the MCP says he needs that Chinese language pack installed stat for reasons. End of line.
Don't worry about it.
Now, Flynn enters a password here, by the way.
Oh, do we know?
don't know if
Do we
you-
get to see this one?
We see Flynn's password is PS17 Reindeer Flotilla. That's a good password.
That
Not the
sounds like
best
a lot of
password.
characters. Yeah.
It is a lot of characters, and that's good. And they're not all direct English language words by having the PS. So it is a solid password. It's bordering on passphrase, which is the preferred method. If we're being perfectly honest, special characters don't mean anything. It's about number characters. But much better password.
This has been Digital Safety Tips with Xhafer.
I will go on a rant about why passwords are good and bad to anyone who will listen. Because I've had to do it professionally a number of times when I've seen new clients' password restrictions, and I'm all like, well, we're changing these.
Pretty much all of the ones that I have to use have moved to that, you got to have 9 to 12 character password plus some sort of token.
The token is the big help.
Uh-huh.
I'd say token is more important than 9 character minimum. I would say token is more important than special characters.
Yeah.
So he gets into the system only to have the MCP catch him immediately. And then he gets cut into tiny pieces by a laser. And I totally remember this scene from Cube. Check out Michael Flynn, nerd computer whiz, was creeping on the MCP and got zapped in cyberspace. Anyone? Freakazoid? Just me? That's okay.
Okay. I'm going to have to do some Googling later. I thought that this was a very 2001-esque scene of like, we're tunneling into digitization instead of space.
That's fair. I mean, I'm sure it was inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to be inspired by that movie, especially in 1982.
Right. And doing anything vaguely sci-fi.
I would like to just say, once again, speaking with professional authority, this is exactly what it's like inside of a computer.
Yeah, somehow, Flynn figures it out. He's in the computer.
In the computer. It's so simple.
Yep.
He's surrounded by these security programs that zap him with cattle prods.
MCP tells Sark to fuck with Flynn until he dies. No other programs say end of line, by the way. It's a terrible email signature.
End of line. I'm going to put that on my email signature.
End of line, comma, Xhafer's phone number. There we go. Flynn meets Ram, and we get a little info dump about how the training will work, while Tron does his best Xena warrior princess throwing his disc around. Crom and Flynn play the worst American Gladiators game ever created. And I have a question. I did not research, so this is just a Google away.
Okay.
Shame on me. Did they sell those giant arm things as toys for kids?
I mean,
those
if they
giant
didn't.
sleeves that come up to your elbow that are the giant catchers to throw balls.
Uh-huh.
I really hope they did.
If they didn't, someone really missed out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
Those were wild. I guess, so it seemed like if the ball hit the disc, then the disc was going to disappear, right? The discs underneath their feet. Because we also have the discs that they throw.
The discs that you throw aren't in the game. So they're throwing a ball and you knock the ground out from underneath them. It's like Breakout, the game where you bounce the ball around to destroy the tiles.
Oh, yeah.
Only your opponent is standing on those tiles.
Yeah. So very brutal.
Yeah. So Crom, I said we'd get to it later, by the way. I think Crom is a user. So there are a couple of things here. Crom does not identify himself as a program. RAM is the actuarial program. Crom does not identify what he does, rather his department, which is accounting.
Right.
Now there's 2 things that make it a real selling point for me. The first is his outfit is the same as Flynn's, with the half over kind of almost an obi thing over their chest piece. They're the only 2 characters who have that in the whole movie. Everyone else has the fully digitized chest piece.
Okay. You know what he could be? Let's put a little headcanon onto this. He's like the guy in accounting who's checking the receipts, and he's figured out that something ain't right.
More than likely. There is one other side of this, though, which is when Sark sends him to the games, he says send him against one of his own. Also, they both glow light blue, and all the other programs glow red or dark blue, depending on their belief in the user.
Oh, good point.
So I do believe he is actually a user.
Man, that's so sad. He's just the little accounting guy who was like, I think there's something wrong. I think somebody's spending the funds inappropriately. And then he gets zapped by the MCP and put into the game. So he keeps so he doesn't get in trouble. Oh, man, that's crazy.
So after this, Flynn meets Tron and Ram. And Tron is all, keep your user's name out of your mouth, until Flynn makes it clear that they are aligned. They start the light bikes.
This is Gold Leader. Standing by.
Flynn, Tron, and Ram win the light bikes and proceed to escape from the arena. They see something in the distance, which is later identified as an input-output tower to talk to the outside world. And then they drink some, electricity water? I don't know entirely what this is.
I wondered what that was. It definitely seems like it's implied that it's electricity, right?
Yeah, they refer to it as power.
Mm-hmm. It definitely like recharges them.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some tanks that are still following them, though. They've gotten away, but the tanks are on their way. But they still have the light cycles, so they give another chase. One of the tanks explodes a bridge.
Yep.
Which takes out Flynn and Ram.
Yep. Tron thinks they're dead/derezzed, how we call dead people.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually sneak out and avoid MCP's warriors. Flynn carries Ram to a hiding spot, which turns out to be a watcher that Flynn repairs. Ram can't believe it. Flynn is a user and then dies of shock.
He dies of a broken heart.
Right? He lost the will to live. Straight up Force ghosts. This is exactly what happens to your RAM when you open up 20 Chrome tabs, by the way.
Been there. So Tron is trying to find a way to get to the MCP. Flynn has repaired his claw ship, but it's very broken and unstable. Like he's banging into shit. He's not balanced.
Is that it's unstable, or is it that he's bad at it?
Oh, I thought that, because it's like heavier on one side, that he like can't control it.
That's fair.
It could be a little of both.
Benefit of the doubt. He does say it's like a game controller, and he is the best at video games.
I mean, obviously, we saw him in Flynn's. He's the best at video games. Flynn runs into this little program thing that speaks in yes, no. And I guess
he meets
it's called
his Destiny
a bit.
Ghost.
His Destiny Ghost?
Yeah, if that lands with you, you're cheering, and if you don't get it, I don't blame you. I've put way too many hours into that game.
I thought, looking at this, that his little Destiny Ghost was going to be important in some way.
No.
And it was not.
Not at all. We get a scene at the transport station where Yori, which is Lori's life work transporter program, and Tron unite.
Okay.
And this is like the nerd version of making your Barbies kiss, because they're dating.
Yeah, it is.
Our
isn't
programs are so cute. Do you think our programs are in love like us?
Yeah.
Do you think our programs kiss?
That is so nerdy.
We get to the Flynn runs his ship into the input-output tower. And at this point, we meet the programs that do the weird stuff.
We do the weird stuff.
We've got a light bulb. We've got Alligator Cousin It. We've got a partially melted Connect. We've got the bastard child of Prince and a jellyfish. And some monks. It's quite an allotment that only appear for 3 seconds and then never again.
There's a lot of really fast stuff that it's like, whoa.
What is going on right now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In this whole movie.
A lot of shit could fly in 1982 filmmaking. Because after this, Flynn runs up a platform into the red light district, where he then jumps a guard and downloads a DLC alt costume for about 1,000 zenny and is now glowing red.
Yeah. So now we know he's in disguise because now he's glowing red.
Tron and Yori make their way all sneaky-like to the third stage space navigator, Drummond. He's jaded as fuck, but he lets Tron pass. Tron releases his identidisc and transmits it off, and Alan returns it with the delete codes for the MCP.
I think he calls this the freedom code, right? Or maybe that was just me. I put in my notes freedom code. They're going to get freedom out of this is the point.
Yeah. So now they just got to get to the MCP. So Tron and Yori get on the Bajoran sail ship to catch a ride.
I knew I recognized that from somewhere.
Right. The battleship Yamato is in hot pursuit until Chewie hits the hyperspace. The MCP gives Sark shit while Tron saves Flynn. Flynn reveals that he is a user. Sark decides to torture Dermont, and we get some random non-CGI animation of spider programs that never show up again.
There's a lot of random. I know I just said it, but
what is going on in this movie?
It was really hard. I said this off pod, but I'm going to say it on pod too. It was really hard to take notes on this episode, you guys. And we watched this with our son because, he saw the neon colors and was like, oh, okay, I'll hang out for this.
Yeah.
At the end, he said, I don't understand any of this movie, which part of that is he doesn't quite have the context that we have, not, having been around back in the before times.
Yeah.
But part of it is it's just very hard to follow. But he did watch the trailer for Tron Legacy, and he wants to watch that one. So we'll get there.
Yeah. It's a much better movie. And the soundtrack is bomb.
Yeah, I can see why this one has a following, because Tron does have a following. But
Yeah,
wow, it was really hard to take notes.
for sure. Jeff Bridges uses his arm to go over the line.
Over the line!
And connect power conduits to let them escape a power surge and continue heading towards the MCP.
Okay, did Flynn meet Tron and the girlfriend yet?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was just going to point out that Flynn is still a creep about it.
He is.
He's a creep.
He's totally a creep about it. He's a creep about it even more in a minute, too.
Yep. Well, let's get there. Okay. So Sark has tortured Dermond, and he mentions that the MCP used to be a chess program.
Yeah. Well, it used to be in the 80s, they thought those were the most advanced programs because chess was the most advanced game. And there was the whole thing about IBM's supercomputers facing like chess champions and the chess champions still winning and stuff. Back then, the chess champions still won.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've got onto the other line. We're going somewhere else.
The Bajoran starship gets blown up. They think Tron is killed, but he just gets knocked away as Yori and Flynn are captured. Everyone finally arrives at the MCP. The ship begins to derez as everyone is disembarked and makes their way to Moses.
I desire popcorn necklaces.
Tron calls out Sark, and then they play the world's most dangerous version of Ultimate Frisbee. His Tron straight up brains Sark, just like Frisbee right in the head, and he starts bleeding glitter.
Yeah.
MCP raises a shield, so Tron cannot hit him where he needs to hit him in the special spot, his weak spot or whatever. And then raises Sark from the dead to make him giant. And then Yori and Flynn on the ship up above kiss. And
for some reason.
It's like that episode of Buffy where Warren makes the robot of his ex-girlfriend, but like in Comic Sans. Like it just does not work. But neither that episode, but like it's not okay, Flynn. It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird, and it doesn't really have a reason for happening. So Flynn like leaps into the beam to help Tron.
They say it damages the MCP, but it turns him blue, which according to the logic of the rest of the movie means that the MCP now believes in the user.
Right.
It opens up a hole in his shields and allows Tron to score an ace, derezing the MCP, allowing Flynn to get the file that he needed. And then they just kind of like return to the real world instantly, and the good guys just win, I guess. And that's just the end of the movie. It happened so quick I had to rewind it twice. And I'm just like, is that the end? There wasn't anything else. Just Dillinger knows that Flynn has the file, and there's a time lapse of, I'm guessing, like LA or wherever it's taking place.
And like Tron reunites with the girlfriend character, the girlfriend program, excuse me. And she kisses him then too. So I'm just like,
and tells him that we thought you were dead. Like that makes, I thought you were dead for 30 seconds. So I kissed this other dude, but it's so fucked. The whole thing is so fucked. And that's the movie. That's the whole movie.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched Tron and you're just listening to this episode for fun, you don't need to watch Tron now.
We did you a favor. Watch Tron Legacy. It's basically the same movie, but 10 times better.
I tried to picture clusters of information as they move through the computer.
And you still get a little Bruce Boxleitner in Tron Legacy, but it was very traumatizing for me to see him in old man white tennis shoes. That was very hard for me. So be warned.
We all have our cross to bear.
Oh boy. So what'd you think of Tron, Xhafer?
You know what? As a kid, I liked this movie a lot. And I mean, I guess it's not even like the bad CGI is what ruins this movie. It's just funny to me at this point. It's the pacing is really weird. It feels like the last third of the movie is them on the light ship. Like that whole part lasts like 30 minutes for no reason. It's not a terribly long movie. It's 90 minutes. And then it just kind of stops and picks up and ends. And it's just very weird. It's just very awkwardly cut. And if that was done on purpose to make it feel not natural, and you told me that was the goal and that it did its job, cool. It definitely did its job. But by modern movie making standards, this editing is miserable.
Yeah. So this kind of reminded me, my son has watched some crazy bad stuff, as kids often do, right? When they're little. So there was like a Netflix movie that he watched a bunch when he was like 3 or 4 years old. You know, when kids aren't really
You watch the same thing
processing and
100 times because you don't understand the story enough until you've watched it that many times.
Yeah, and like they can watch the same thing 3 or 4 times a day and not bat an eye at it. It was some Netflix movie that was so terrible, and you could tell it had been written. It was an animation, and it had been written and made in some other country where English speaking is not necessarily the first language. And so it was just like a bunch of random shit strung together by the flimsiest thread. And this kind of has that element to it, but not nearly as egregious. Oh my gosh.
It's rough.
It's not a Netflix animation like that, but it just reminded me kind of that thing. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely for kids because it's a lot of lights flashing.
Yeah.
Like, does this movie come with an epilepsy warning? Because it almost should because of all these neon colors and flashings.
And I didn't Google this, but I have to imagine the special effects at the time. Whenever you saw light effects like this, those were like drawn on film, or like in the case of lightsabers, they were scraped off frame by frame.
Yeah.
Is that how they did all the light suits?
Oh, I hope not.
It's not like EL wire existed back then. Like for Tron Legacy, they had EL wire, so you just did it as part of the outfits, and it was just what you were wearing. Because EL wire is so fucking cool, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. Didn't you put some on a jacket?
I did.
Once,
yeah,
or?
I've got my show jacket is a bunch of
I saw that
EL
on
wire.
Facebook.
Yeah, I've got the David Bowie lightning bolt on the back, and I've got like EL wire shoulder pads and like epaulets and stuff that I made out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. And the visual effects in this movie, if you told me that they're groundbreaking, I would totally believe it. Like this feels like a groundbreaking movie in that sort of, old CGI way.
Yeah, if we didn't have this movie,
you're not coming for the plot.
Yeah, if we didn't have this movie, would we have gotten, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, like with the CGI and stuff?
Would you have gotten Star Wars Phantom Menace?
Yeah, would we have gotten Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within? Maybe it's not all bad. But yeah, if it was the first, if it was pioneering or whatever, then it gets credit for that for sure. And like I said, the effects...
Also, Jeff Bridges is a delight.
Yeah, the effects aren't the problem with this movie, 100%. Are they dated? Of course. But they're dated in a way that, especially because of a combination of nostalgia and then embracing things like 8-bit and 16-bit as art styles, it doesn't feel weird. You're just like, oh, this is the art style, and you move on with your life. It's like when you've watched enough like animation to be able to take it seriously as a medium instead of it's for kids. If you've watched enough anime to go, oh, it's animated like this. You could just dismiss it and understand it. That's the art style and move on. It's 100% the pacing and the editing that are just miserable.
A little bit of script in there for me.
Fair enough.
With our girlfriend character who's meaningless.
The treatment of, I don't even want to say the treatment of women because that implies that they were considered.
And you can't even say women because it's woman. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad we did it.
We did the thing.
And we knocked out 3 characters in one bit part of Babylon 5 with this one movie. So, congrats.
Yeah. We'll figure out next season's later. Not Chud 2.
We've got some ideas.
And probably
that
not
Chud
Grease,
2.
but maybe Grease. Sorry. But next week we've got season 2, episode 12, Acts of Sacrifice. Mounting tensions between the Narn and the Centauri are reflected in conflicts on Babylon 5. A mysterious race visits the station to consider joining Earth Alliance.
I think I know which episode this is. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
I don't. So I'll see when I get there.
Okay. All right. I'm excited. Thank you to jeremysiegel42.bandcamp.com for our wonderful theme music.
Thank you to Angry Duck Time Machine for our wonderful art. And you want to send us an email? You can send us an email. We got an email. You can send us an email. whoareyoup5@gmail.com. Go ahead, send us an email. Get on our Discord. Join the community there.
Yeah, we'd love to have you and give us your thoughts on Tron.
We'll see you next week, Internet.
Bye.